Hello, everyone, and welcome to Reset with Raven, the channel for faith, focus, and fortitude. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Jonathan Troen. Jonathan is a life mastery coach and the creator of the self-love revolution. His mission is to help people find the joy inside of themselves. After spending 20 years in the entertainment industry and having major success on paper, he still wasn't happy. He also found out he wasn't alone. After 15 years of research and practice to discover what was wrong and how to fix it, he created the self-love revolution, specifically to share this new methodology for creating success in all aspects of life. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you, Raven.
I'm super excited to talk with you. I have been looking forward to this conversation because I know that I was just going through the motion in my career as well and can relate to having, I always use like air quotes, success on paper, but not being happy. So I want to know, what did you discover was wrong?
Look, I was living the life of my dreams. I really was. I was living in Hollywood, or Santa Monica, which is the city by the beach in Los Angeles, near Los Angeles. I was interviewing the biggest stars in the world. Everything was perfect. It was, we're taught to create the life we want. And I created the life I wanted. And I'm not saying I didn't have good times. I did. I had wonderful times, wonderful conversations. Living by the beach was great. But I lived on 3rd Street by the beach. And, so I could see the sunset out the window. And when I would see the sunset, I'd leave my apartment and I'd walk down the stairs and I'd walk down past 2nd Street, past Ocean, and to the beach. And as I walked past, even though it was 10 minutes and I had my feet in the water, 5 minutes were through the sand on the beach. But I would think, well, these people live on 2nd Street and these people live on Ocean. And when I live there, well, then I'll be happy. Because I used to live in the middle of LA, and then got to 11th Street in Santa Monica. Well, that wasn't close enough to the beach. Then I got to 3rd Street. And I really thought that if I changed these outside circumstances, that then I can be happy. But I got so many of the changes I wanted. I created the life I wanted, but something still wasn't sitting right inside of me. And eventually, you asked when I figured it out. Honestly, I was listening to a song. I was listening to a song. I was a big punk rocker. I was listening to a song by Social Distortion. And look, I had interviewed the band. I had seen their concerts. I had listened to this song thousands of times. It was like the first time I ever heard it. And it said, you can run all your life, but not go anywhere.
Oh.
I'm like, is that what I'm doing? Because part of the other story was I moved to Denmark, moved to Spain, then moved to LA, and then moved to Santa Monica, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm running, but it's still me here. Maybe it's not all this outside stuff. Maybe it's me. And that's when I began the slow journey to figure out what was wrong with me, which was really nothing was wrong with me.
Oh, that's good.
It was
found that nothing was wrong with you. Well, let me ask this question because I'm wondering, and I think this is something that a lot of people are attached to career. And also too, I think when I think of like the LA life or the Los Angeles and the entertainment, like I think of people being attached to their identity and their status. Tell me, do you feel like that was where like your career or your status? Because it sounds like when you were talking about, when I get to this much closer to the beach, was there some status too also on which street you lived on?
Absolutely. The purpose of what I was doing had changed somewhere along the line. I got into the entertainment business originally in radio because I wanted to bring a smile to people's faces. And I remember the day I wanted to go into radio. I was in junior high. I had a bad day at school. I went home. I turned on the radio. The DJ played a song and he said something funny. And all of a sudden I had a smile on my face. And I said, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to bring a smile to people's faces, and I want to be a DJ and work in radio. And I did work in radio. I did that for some years. And then what happened was, so then, I started an internet company, interviewing all these bands, broadcasting concerts, living the life of my dreams. I got into television, and I forgot that mission. My mission changed. My new mission was to climb the ladder of success, to get a better title, and to make more money so that I could be closer to the beach and look better in other people's eyes. And that really became a part of the mission. And the idea of connecting with people, the idea of bringing a smile to people's faces, and what I didn't know back then, but when I work with people now, when I talk about honoring your values, I didn't know what values were, but I had totally lost track of my values. It had nothing to do with bringing joy to people. I just had to climb the ladder and make more money. And that did not bring my heart and soul joy.
I recall from the conversation we had offline, you said the daily question is, how am I honoring my values today? And that by the time we're adults, we're often distracted. Where do you think that comes from?
Well, we are programmed human beings. We have to accept the fact that we're programmed human beings. And if you don't believe it, just think about what language you speak. You were born in a particular place. So I was born in the United States of America. I was born in Boston, Massachusetts. And therefore, I speak English with a slight Boston accent. It's not very strong, because I was programmed to do that. If I had been born, if my parents had moved to another country, I would simply speak another language. So I was programmed to speak English. Well, that was not the only way I was programmed. So I was younger, and we all, when we were younger, we had these dreams and these ideals and these ideas of who we wanted to be and what we wanted to do. But so many messages are given to us from our parents, from our teachers, from the marketing messages. We are bombarded daily with these marketing messages that tell us, you're not happy right now, but if you buy this new car, you will be happy. If you get this new iPhone, you will be happy. If you get this new watch, you will be happy. If you go on vacation here, you will be happy. And the thing is, we do those things. We get the car, we get the watch, we go on the vacation, and we enjoy it. I'm not saying don't do these things, do them, get them. But in the end, we have to understand that those things won't make you happy, but we've been programmed that they will. So that's when we lose our values. Our values become pleasing parents, pleasing teachers, and in a way, succumbing to these marketing messages. Well, I'm going to prove to everybody else that I'm successful because watch me drive up in my car and pull out. Hey, I don't have last year's iPhone. I have this year's iPhone. Don't worry, you won't catch me. I don't remember. I think this is either 7 or 8. I don't even remember. But, people live to have the latest one. It's not where joy comes from.
So where does joy come from?
Here. Inside here. Look, I spent years trying to impress other people. And most of us try. That's our goal. Our mission is to impress other people. Look, when I was producing television shows, look, I had a great time. I was single at the time. So I would go out on these days and, what do you do? Oh, I'm producing these shows. Oh, really? What show? Oh, this. Oh, really? I watched that show. That's so great. And built on my ego. It was great. It was fun. But it all came from the outside. So when those people aren't there right in front of you telling you how great you are, boom, it's gone. We have to tell ourselves we're good from the inside. And here's the thing. So here's what I would do when I would get back home at night from whatever I was doing, a date, a networking thing, a great interview. I would look in the mirror, and even if it was a great day, I would review everything that went wrong in the day. You
I
know,
can relate to that.
you said that wrong, you screwed that up. Now it's the complete opposite. From the inside, I don't wait for someone else to tell me I'm doing a great job. I look at myself in the mirror every night and I review my successes. And I say, Jonathan, great job. Even if it was the teeniest thing, even if so many things went wrong, but there was one little thing that was great, I celebrate that. But the truth is, because I celebrate it, more good things happen. I tell myself, I have my back. I go, Jonathan, I look in the mirror, I give myself a high five, and I say, Jonathan, I got your back.
But if you only celebrate the successes, do you go over any of the things where you miss the mark and say, hey, I need to improve on this?
Absolutely.
Or, oh, you do?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So it's kind of what I used to do is I noticed my successes. Hey, I had fun at that interview, or I had fun going to the beach or being in the water. I'd like quickly go over that, and then I dwell on everything I messed up. So now I quickly go over, I review everything I messed up. I see if there's learning I can take from it, right? Okay, what can I learn from that? What can I do better next time? I forgive myself, right? If I acted or did something in a way that I'm not happy with, I immediately forgive myself so I don't have to carry it into tomorrow. I am a very imperfect person and I need to forgive myself. I also forgive others. I have a daily evening forgiveness ritual, which I practice every day. It's one of the biggest changes that I've experienced in my life was when I adopted this daily forgiveness practice. So I do review them. I find where the learning is. I practice forgiveness. And then I celebrate myself. I build myself up so that when I go to sleep, I don't have all these thoughts going through my head like I used to. I can sleep in peace. And when I wake up, I can wake up in peace and be excited to face this next day and honor my values again.
I like that. And I need to incorporate that, especially that forgiveness of myself, forgiveness of others, just a daily forgiveness practice. But you also mentioned, so you don't go to bed with all of this stuff, in your running through your brain. So one of the things that I found is sometimes how do you shut that off? Or how do you shut off, like, if tonight going to bed thinking about all the things I have to go or all the things I have to experience tomorrow or get to experience or whatever, how do you shut that off every night?
You can't shut it off. But what you can do, so I have two things I can share. One is to reframe everything. So these positive thoughts don't keep you awake so much at night because you're not, I get that out of my head. It's there. If you begin to build up this habit of reviewing all the positive things that happened that day, you won't feel that need to get rid of them. Now, look, even some days, I don't know, something happened or it's just an uncomfortable day, whatever happened, and I'm really struggling. At that point, you have to go into the body. It's not the thoughts that bother us so much. It's the feeling we experience in the body when we have those thoughts, right? So there's an input of information, which can come from any of our senses, right? This is how all communications work. There's an input of information. So in this case, it's our own thoughts. It could be someone else says something. It could be we touch something. There's an input of information. So the input is our thought. The thought creates a physical sensation in our body. We don't like it. We fight it. And that's what the fight really is. So if you can shift your awareness from the thoughts going through your head into the body and go, okay, I feel my heart pounding and I'm tightening up, or I feel my stomach swirling, whatever it is for you, and just let it be there. Stop fighting it and just acknowledge it. Oh, there's tightness in my shoulders. Oh, my heart is clenched. Oh, my stomach is turning. And just kind of take a step back like a reporter So instead of being you, the one who's up in this ball with swirling thoughts,
Oh,
be
like observe what's going on, like take a step out of it and observe everything that you're experiencing.
exactly. And when you begin to observe it, when you stop fighting it and you begin to observe it, it immediately stops getting worse. And over time, it begins to dissipate. I'm not saying it disappears right away, but it begins to dissipate. And if you spend 5 minutes just scanning your body, the physical sensations, I do this. I mean, yes, I do my practice, but then I do. I go into bed and I simply scan my body sensations and I nod off to sleep. That's how you leave the thoughts behind, is by going into your body, because that's where your experience is. That's where your answers are. And that's where you'll find healing to whatever's going on with you.
That's really good. And I ask that because, like myself, I'm sure many of the people that will listen to this are driven, ambitious, high performing, tasted success and want more of it. And oftentimes, I think one of the things that we experience when you're a high performer is just racing thoughts right before you're trying to go to bed. Like, I want to accomplish this. I need to get this done. I have to be over here. And I'm wondering, how do you relax and calm the mind and calm the body? And it sounds like, yeah, take a step back and observe it, as well as acknowledge that this is how you're feeling, to be able to kind of relax in it or lean into it rather than just trying to resist it. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yes. And calm your body and your mind will become calm. That's why people practice yoga. That's why people do Tai Chi. That's why people have these practices. It calms the body. Calming the body calms the mind. Because look, I get it. We got to get more done, and we got to get it done more quickly. But here's the thing. If you look at it logically and rationally, these thoughts racing through your mind, you're getting less done than you could be getting done. People say they don't have time for it. You don't have time not to do it. You must take 10 minutes out of your day to pause. And the successful people, I mean, Steve Jobs used to talk about, I think he called it no time or nothing time or something like that, like time where it was scheduled, right? Schedule the nothing time. That's the birthplace of creativity, is when you're doing nothing. You have to allow yourself the pause if you want to be successful while you're doing something. Because how often do we, I have this to do. What should I do first? I have to do that, but if I do that, I can't do that. If I do that, I can't do that. We get paralyzed. So first you have to unparalyze yourself so that when you do get to work, you can actually do something that really is productive for you. You don't have time not to do this.
I've recognized you can't even operate from a position of power, self-power, when there's too much chaos, even if the chaos is in your brain or in your mind. That's super important. I'm glad you brought that out. I wanted to go back a little bit, because we talked about your major reset, or we alluded to it more. So your major reset was leaving the entertainment industry because you weren't happy. I want to know, you use the term the courage to act. Tell me about what type of courage and how you even were able to like build that up or find that or discover that to leave. Because I know for a fact there's so many people, again, I say they're going through the motion, they're existing and not living. How did you, like, if you're at the height of your career, how did you make that transition to say, because it makes me think too, like you had almost similar to, we say, you just said you don't have time not to have that yoga and have that quiet time and that meditation time. But I feel like also too, you don't have the luxury of your life not to do what makes you happy and not to love yourself. So how did you make that transition and come to that decision and have that courage to, like, you know what, I have to do something different?
Look, I'll be honest, it was scary. It's all I knew how to do. And yes, my identity, my ego, everything I was wrapped up in it. And to be honest, like, especially when I started an internet company where we would broadcast bands and interview bands. The name of the company was called LA Live. And we wired up all of Los Angeles. We did some shows out of New York and Las Vegas. But we were broadcasting concerts all the time. And my partner and I, sometimes we'd be backstage and people wouldn't even know our name, but they go, "Hey, the LA Live guys are there." And these big bands would go, "Hey, the LA Live guys are here." Like, that's how much of our identity it was. They knew what we did and what we were about. Yeah, it was really scary not having that as a part of my life, wondering how people would respond to me, and not knowing what the hell I was going to do for the rest of my life, since that's all I ever wanted to do. But it wasn't building me up anymore. And honestly, I witnessed a lot of friends who had been in the business longer than I had, and they weren't happy either. So I'm like, and even non-friends too, I'd see people, I'd be like, in 10 years, am I going to be like that? Because they're not happy either. So what ladder am I climbing here? Am I climbing that ladder to get more money? But that's where it gets me. And I'm like, look, I was in a very lucky situation. I did nothing for a year. So I luckily had sold part of my company, so I had a little bit of money in the bank, and I was in a blessed situation. I know everybody couldn't do it, but I had no idea what I was going to do for the rest of my life, and I did nothing. And I went and I would audit these classes. So I took some Chinese medicine classes and took some acupuncture classes and all kinds of stuff, just wondering, like, what will resonate with me? What
sounds like a lot of exploration. That sounds fun.
And it was, but nothing was clicking right away. And I'm like, what am I going to do? And then finally someone goes, well, why don't you go teach yoga? And we didn't get to any of that part of the story, but due to a surgery, I had already been practicing yoga at the time for, I don't know, close to 10 years. And, my friends would come to me, hey, my shoulder hurts. Hey, my back hurts. What should I do? And I'd help them out. So I go, oh, that might be a good idea. It's one of those things where the answers that are most obvious, closest to you, you just can't see them. So I go, okay, so I went to my teacher and I started teaching yoga. And she was like, great. Yeah. So, I went through, it was 3 years of training and all of that. I went to start teaching yoga. And then someone told me about this idea of life coaching. And I said, well, that's stupid. Why would anybody need a life coach? And I had a real scarcity mindset at the time. And there was an organization, Coaches Training Institute, CTI. They're still around. They're one of the oldest coaching schools there are. And they had a free weekend. Not a free weekend. They said, take the weekend. If at the end of the weekend, you do the whole weekend, not like take one day if you don't like it, do the whole weekend. And if the end of it, we'll give you your money back if you don't like it. So I go, okay, great. This person is saying I should go. I make them happy by going. It's not going to work, so I'll get my money back, and it's going to be awesome. And I went there, transformed my understanding of life. At least it began to transform the understanding. It has transformed a great deal in the, 12, 13 or so years since then. But as I said, I was a punk rocker. My mission was to rage against the world. That's what we did. And this was, hey, you can live a life of joy. And I'm like, what's that all about? And it opened a new door. Yes, I immediately signed up for the rest of the training, all that kind of stuff. And it was amazing. I didn't know you could live in joy every day. I thought we were supposed to be pissed off. So it was just a new understanding of life. And so I continued teaching yoga. I began to coach people. And as I was coaching people, just on and on. I'd get, I believe I helped a lot of people, but honestly, as a coach, we learn more from our clients. I get so much value. When I help others, I learn so much, and I learned from them. Of course, I continued learning and reading and taking classes and learning from the real, people who are 20, 30 years ahead of me in this journey. And it's just a different life today. But here's the interesting thing. So we spoke a little bit about values before, and I mentioned that I got into the entertainment business to put a smile on people's faces. That was one of the values back then, and that I lost them as I journeyed through my career. What I learned in my training, I learned about my values, or relearned my values. What I do now is what I originally got into the entertainment business to do. And I phrase it a little differently. You mentioned at the beginning that my mission is to bring, to help people find the joy inside of themselves. So a little different than bring a smile to people's faces, because that was an external force helping someone, which is what I understood back then. I thought an external force could make people happy, and it can momentarily, but what was what created happiness in general. So now it has shifted a difference. I help people find it inside of themselves, and it simply comes from being able to once again honor my values and knowing what my values are. I went full circle. I just didn't know it at the time.
That's interesting. And I never thought about, even as I was in the infancy of even creating this podcast, someone asked me, what are your values? What are the values for Reset with Raven? And what actions are you consciously taking that are in alignment with your values? And I had never, ever thought about anything, and even not even actions about the podcast, but about my life. What decisions do you make? If you say that family is important to you, if I'm saying that joy is one of my top values, or whatever, friendships, relationships, how are you creating a life that you love around those values? So I can really resonate with that. And I wanted to ask you, and I think you really just kind of gave us the tip of the iceberg. What is the self-love revolution?
Yeah, so here's what happened in my journey. I told you about the coach's training that I went to. So I really started researching my brain, what my thoughts were, and I started researching other people as well. And so I came across confidence skills. I was very not a confident person. I was very shy, very insecure. So I learned some confidence techniques. I learned taking massive action, things like that. Then I learned about gratitude. Then I learned about self-love, and all from different teachers. And it was over years. And I was just like, wait a minute, something's wrong here, because this doesn't work without that. Because what was happening to me, and honestly, at the beginning, what was happening to my clients, I'd like to think that I helped them a lot. But what was happening is we'd find these great successes, but then like 6 months later, there'd be a drop. And then we'd create another success, and then there'd be some sort of fall. Something was missing, and I couldn't figure it out. And it was the self-love piece of it, the acceptance and kindness to ourselves. So massive action without self-compassion doesn't get you anywhere. You'll get successes, but believe me, you'll be back to where you were. Of course, self-love without massive action, and I call it inspired action now. I approach it a little differently, but without action and without confidence. Of course, confidence comes from self-love. When you love yourself, you don't need any more confidence techniques. It's just you. You know, I work with people on imposter syndrome. Like, you don't need to, I use the techniques. And honestly, some people, if you have to turn on a dime to do something and you haven't practiced the tools for long enough, okay, there are techniques that can work. Do this and boom, you can get on the stage, do whatever you need to do. They're good techniques. They work. But when you've practiced self-love, you don't need a technique for your imposter syndrome. You've learned to love yourself when you show up as you are. And it's really a much more peaceful place to be. And then forgiveness, which I brought in. And that was the last piece that I learned. And it didn't come with any of the other stuff I learned. It didn't talk about forgiveness. And I stumbled across it. And I'm telling you, it's the biggest change to my life. This daily forgiveness practice. I say these words every single day. I forgive myself and all others who have hurt or offended me, physically, emotionally, or monetarily, knowingly or unknowingly. I wish them no harm. I accept this moment as it is, and I release myself from any future pain. I say that every single day. So to answer your real question, well, what's the self-love revolution? The self-love revolution is taking all these ingredients that are necessary. You can't just look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I love you. First of all, it's a practice. You need the foundation to get there. You need to know what these thoughts in your head are doing, the inner critics. You need to access the inner guides. You need the foundation for it. And it's all packaged together so that you can truly have the life that you want. And life includes your business. We think there's a business life and a personal life. There isn't. You got one life. And it's how do we bring it all together so that you can have success, not just on paper, but in your life. I kind of talk about it, if I have to give it one sentence, it's turning yourself from your own worst enemy into your own best friend. Because most of us are our own worst enemy. We just beat ourselves up all day long. You're not good enough. You suck. You're going to try this. It's not going to work out. It's not going to work how you think it's going to work out. That person's better than you. All these stories.
Yeah, we're our biggest self-critics. Mm-hmm.
Own worst enemy. This is a journey of becoming your own best friend so that you can have complete success in all areas of your life.
Wow. You just, and the past few minutes, you just transformed the way I think about self-love. And the biggest takeaway that I just had, or I guess epiphany I just had when I thought about imposter syndrome, because the term is used very frequently. We hear it a lot. And the root of that, thinking about where's your self-love in this? Ooh, that was good. That was really, really, really good. Okay, so before I ask my final question, where can we find you online?
Simple. Go to selfloverevolution.com. Of course, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, all the regular places. Search Jonathan Troen. But go to selfloverevolution.com, hit join the revolution, and we can begin living a new life together.
Awesome. And final question. What's been your biggest lesson in your reset?
The biggest lesson. If there's anything different about who I was back then to who I am now, back then, it didn't matter how successful I was. I knew that I wasn't good enough. And today, it doesn't matter what happens on any given day, failures and successes. There will be failures, folks. There are always failures. I know every single day that I am good enough. That's my biggest learning, is that I'm good enough. I am worthy of love. I am an awesome human being, and I am here to love myself and to love others. That's my purpose here.
Oh, that was so good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, I am good enough. Oh, Need to like plaster that on my mirror, my window. Oh, that was so good. Thank you so much, Jonathan. I
Thank you, Raven.
appreciate you.
I appreciate you. I'm so happy to be here with you. Really, thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Jonathan. You just really shed so much light today on self-love. And one of the things you said is you can run all of your life and not go anywhere. Allow yourself to pause, people. This was amazing, uplifting, and really soothing. Self-love is so important. Self-love, inspired action, confidence, forgiveness. Just wow. Love yourself and show up as you are. You all know I only have one ask. Well, today I have two. First, if anything you heard resonated with you and moved you to take action towards your reset, subscribe so you can never miss a message. Second, if you know this can have impact and add value to the lives of your community, friends, and family, share this message. If you'd like to continue this conversation, let's talk. I'm Raven M. Harris everywhere and would love to connect with you. And remember, a reset is always available to you.